I just want to start with the bigger picture. We've heard Obama's nuclear posture review. We're now seeing the signing of a START treaty. How serious would you say are the world's two nuclear powers at reducing arms and about ridding the world of nuclear arms?
Well, they're going to have to be serious because there's 23,000 nuclear warheads out there, and US and Russia between them have 22,000. So unless these guys really generate some momentum and start seriously reducing those numbers, we're never going to get anywhere near zero anytime soon.
In your report, you've said that 2010 is a watershed year, and you've set out 2025 as a target to reduce nuclear stockpiles by 90%. How realistic is this, and what do you need to do to get there?
That is doable, provided we get off to a flying start. And that's why this year is in fact so important. If we can capture and sustain the momentum that President Obama brought to this whole topic after 10 years of the world sleepwalking on nuclear weapons issues, if we can capture that momentum, not only as between Russia and the US, but in terms of all the other countries that have got to commit to serious arms control and serious efforts at non-proliferation, stopping other players getting into the game while all this is happening, I think we can in fact get there.
When talking about nuclear issues, I mean, the US and Russia have singled Iran as a particular threat. How much evidence is there that Iran is actually developing nuclear weapons?
There's a lot of evidence that Iran is positioning itself to be able to develop nuclear weapons if it so made that decision. I don't think, however, we ought to make an assumption that Iran is hell-bent on becoming a weapons state. There's all sorts of reasons why, having demonstrated their technological prowess, having demonstrated that they have a right to enrich uranium and do these things under the Non-proliferation Treaty, they might well be prepared to stop there because there are a lot of downside risks for Iran in going further. Military risks from attack from Israel, risks of losing support from Russia, China, risks of really heavy-duty economic sanctions, risks of other countries in the region getting into the business as well if they go with weapons. So for all those reasons and others as well, I think we ought to keep cool heads about Iran, be very tough on them for not having done what they should have done under UN Security Council and other resolutions, but keep the door open for negotiations.
But there is the question that why should Iran stop there? Why should Iran comply when countries like Israel seemingly are allowed to develop their weapons unchecked, and they don't seem to be getting any more than a slap on the wrist, if even that?
Well, that's a pretty fair criticism of how the world as a whole has reacted, either pretending that Israel has no weapons at all, which some of its neighbours still do, when we know, of course, they've got something close to 200, and then not taking the Israeli breakout anything like as seriously as the world has taken the North Korean breakout and the possible breakout for Iran. Iran's got a good point, and other countries have got a good point when they say that there's some double standards at work here. Of course, Israel has always had a really big security problem in terms of anxiety about immunizing itself from attack by its neighbours and so on. But we have to get over all of that and just recognise that if the world is going to move towards nuclear disarmament, Israel has got to be part of the solution to that problem.
But Iran, you can understand, is feeling rather insecure given that the US seems to have a policy on being able to wage war on countries, Iraq, for instance, without necessarily the cooperation of the countries surrounding it, and also the fact that when Bush was in power, he even threatened to invade Iran. So this would lend Iran an argument to say that we should be able to develop what we want to when we want to.
Well, Iran's got a lot of legitimate grievances, including the way in which the world turned a blind eye to Iraq using chemical weapons against it in the late 80s. I mean, a terrible exercise in double standards. But look, we've got to break out of that sort of thinking and say that there are no excuses in this day and age for any new country acquiring nuclear weapons.
You said in your report that countries can hide under the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty. So would you say that the NPT is now possibly ineffective and no longer valid in this day and age?
Well, I don't think we say that many countries hide under it. We say there is a problem if a country like North Korea, while purporting to be a member in good standing of the NPT, develops a plutonium reprocessing plant and uses that to make bombs and then walks away from the NPT. We've got a problem with that regime and we need to strengthen it, so you can't do that without pain and penalty. But there's absolutely no reason to say the NPT regime is in any kind of near-death mode. It's a fantastically important international treaty, and it has saved the world from going down a path which in the 60s was anticipated as producing by now 30 or 40 nuclear weapon states. And the disciplines and the whole taboo that the NPT introduced and the sense of comfort it gave countries that other people wouldn't be stealing a march on them, all of that has been fantastically important in the past and will continue to be in the future.